Hi. Hi, Zizaran here with another Die With Me. Sounds ominous. A few leagues ago, I started making like a quick review after I died, and I forgot to do it this league. But I figured I would just do like a quick explanation of each death I had and like walk through it and explain what happened because it's not always super obvious what killed you in Path of Exile. So this is my first death this league. I think we've forgotten to add it to YouTube, so we need to get credit to do that. But I am fighting a Bombardier Revenant, and this is like very early. Nobody really knows what different things does. This is the first Bombardier I fought, and obviously I didn't think putting it on a Revenant would be bad. So if I remember right, Bombardier chooses either fork, chain, or multi-proj or something like that. It like alters the projectiles. Now obviously, seeing as it's struggling this much, I should already have decided to leave. However, I wasn't taking much damage up to this point. Well, now I am. And here I am trying to disengage, and it chains off my totems and kills me. So yeah, the Revenant projectiles starts chaining off my totems and kills me. I don't notice this, and we die. So that was obviously pretty rough. That's part of the price I pay. Look at my nose. That's part of the price we pay for engaging with league mechanics on day one. Steel Mage will often joke about, well, not really a joke, but he'll say that he lets me beta test the mechanic and see if it's rippy or not. And most racers will not engage with the league mechanic at all because it's usually too dangerous and too rippy early on. So I'm one of the few racers that actually do it. But I really like doing it for, content. It's fun. I enjoy doing it. So next up, we have my second death of the league. This is in the same stream as the other one. Obviously, I was pushing really, really hard. So the other one was pretty high, like top 5, top 10 on ladder. I can't remember, but this is, I think it's 10 hours later. And I'm now in like, I guess this is what, tier 11, tier 13? I don't know what the equivalent this boss is. And I went in completely blind. A lot of the people in the race were talking about like, oh, let's do bosses blind. Well, I thought they meant literally blind, so I hadn't even seen a video of somebody doing a boss. So that was not a good idea. I didn't know what the mechanic did, and I didn't have enough damage to just burst it down, which turned out to be the best way to fight the boss. And yeah, I'm doing the opposite of what you should do. So if you're wondering what killed me, the way this fight does, and I have a guide on this fight too, but when you're on the red side, you get the red buff, and that gives you take more fire damage, but less cold damage. And the opposite for the cold one, right? So when the ice rain is happening, you should be on the red one. Some people in softcore like standing behind the pillar on the same side. However, that can get you clipped on hardcore in one shot, so you don't want to do that. And I am pretty happy with both my first deaths because it was either just strong mechanics or new things that I was unaware of, and I really like dying that way. I think that's really good. I am less happy about my other deaths this league, so let's look at that. This is Revenant, and as you can see, there's a lot going on the screen. And if you do pay close attention, you can see the red pillars, but they also blend in really well with Breach. So this character that died, the other two were like league start characters with very little defense, right? They're like level 68 and 75, etc., or 80. Very low level characters and not much defense. This character has Fortify, a Brastom, crit immune. It has 82 all max res. It has potions up and like 67k armor. And he gets 2-shot. So that's a little unfortunate. I am personally not a big fan of Detonate Dead. I actually really like what they've done with degens. I really like what they've done with degens this time around because degens are incredibly rippy now. They're so scary, but you can react, right? Like, and I really like that. So if something's going to be that rippy, I'm a big fan of it being degens. I personally have a really hard time seeing this, and I'm also not paying enough attention. Here we have another similar thing. So this is, as you can see, very, very start of the map. And I generally have a rule that if there's Revenants in the map, I don't look away from the screen anymore. I actually failed that on my last one. I wasn't paying attention Even though there were Revenants in the map, something I usually quite strict on myself. If there are Revenants, don't look away, focus. Because it's one of the things that can kill you. Now, here, it's so early in the map that I have not noticed that there are detonate mobs in the map. I have not paid attention to them at all. So they're very rare. Like, it's the same as Revenant, that they become a rare monster. Like Devourers, Revenants, these guys, they're generally like 1 in 50 mobs or 1 in 30 mobs very often. Like, you're not going to get packs of them. However, because of Harbinger will spawn those rare mobs quite a lot. So the Harbinger spawns one of those rare monsters, and the explosion, well, you can't actually see it. It's hidden by the essences. Now, obviously, you can easily comment like, well, you should wait before looting. But you can't really... Like, you can't stand around for 10 seconds every time loot drops in Path of Exile. That's not really a viable way to play. So, again, not a huge fan of explosion mechanics. Because it does have a visual thing that you can see, but it is obviously blocked because it's dropping 4 essences. So, yeah. A little unfortunate that the Harbinger is summoning them. And then an essence monster has like infinite life. So this does a bit more damage than like Osiris Meteor and stuff like that, or Maven Memory Game. It's pretty much untankable. And again, this is the same defense as the other character. I'd literally just gotten perfect gear on both and then they died. Maybe I should just stay in shit gear and then I'll survive. But so same, it's like 60k armor, 82 max stress, 6k life on this one. I died yesterday on my Righteous Fire build. This does not have a lot of defense. It has nearly 9k life, so 8.7. Obviously a lot of regen, doesn't help it against one-shots at all. It has like 3.5k regen. It has 40k armor, so not a lot. It is, I'm just being facetious, I think is the word. This build has 90 max rest. And the only thing I was scared of was fist damage, and rightly so. It is also not crit immune, which is most likely what kills me. Obviously, it is a very tanky character. It is also a beach with 0 damage mods. So I don't feel like I have a lot to fear. This is a Berserker, but that only increases attack speed. I also don't think the Berserker is procced yet. Clean one-shots me, and the next step that I was trying to get in my build that I've been working on it for 3 or 4 days was endurance charges, which would have saved me. Now, that being said, there is no reason to face tank any mechanic like this. Even when you are incredibly tanky, on the champion you probably could because you're crit immune and hits aren't going to hurt you. But especially on this build, since I did have a big hole in my defenses, which is fist damage, with the mitigation, it says I should be able to tank like it was 16 or 20k damage. A rare monster in a beach with no damage mods probably shouldn't do that, but it's also entirely on my part. I still shouldn't be face tanking it, but there is something to be said when you have 90 max stress and loads of armor and loads of HP, you do start getting cocky at some point. So there is like a mental switch that happens, like, okay, well, nothing can really kill me here, right? You start thinking like, okay, I'm scared of boss slams. Well, actually, I can tank most boss slams too, because this does more damage than most bosses. Like Shaper Slam and stuff like that isn't that big a deal to tank. But you start getting like, you know, these things can kill me, these things can't. And at some point when mapping can't kill you, you start playing a bit more sloppy. It's bad to tank things like this. I've died to it several times, actually. The number one thing that's killed me is Revenant. 5 deaths in like 500 hours played or 450 hours played, something like that. Not entirely sure. But I've played a lot this league. I've also been playing a lot off stream. It's just a great league. Actually, I think we're closer to 400. I don't think we're close to 500 this league, but I've played a lot. I usually just look at the hours streamed I have and add up. Like, I've been playing a surprising amount off stream. I feel like whenever there's an expansion, like Ritual, Metamorph, and this, I just end up playing so much off stream because they're just good. They're just good. They really nail the expansions. And if you're curious about my overall deaths, my RIP playlist has 239 deaths. That is not entirely correct because early on I would like throw away a lot of characters at the end of a league, and a lot of these are also close calls. But there's probably at least 210 deaths in here, and I have like 23,000 hours played. So on average, I die somewhere between every 100 hours to 150 hours played. The least deaths I've had in league is probably 2 or 3 deaths in like 600 hours. and the most is probably like 10 to 13 in 1300 hours. But with that being said, sub if you liked the video, thanks for watching, and try to die less than I do.